Hello everyone and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Elizabeth and Rick's fates are revealed, and Drew receives a double dose of bad news. Today on General Hospital, Anna receives distressing news concerning Emma, Lucky assists Christina with a cover story, and Alexis disagrees with Drew's most recent decision. The paramedics arrive at the scene of Rick's car accident and request the jaws of life. Meanwhile, Christina notices cops speeding by as she drives and hopes it isn't for Ava. She turns around to investigate. Christina arrives at the scene and notices paramedics and firefighters at work. Rick is in the car. He's unconscious and bleeding from the head. Rick is taken out of the automobile and placed on a gurney while the crew works on Liz, who is reported to be unresponsive. Lucky arrives and asks Christina what happened. Christina exclaims, "It was supposed to be Ava." He inquires about what she means. Christina claims she damaged Ava's brake lines on her car. She knows that was Ava's automobile. Lucky tells Christina to return to Charlie's. As far as anyone knows, she has been taking inventory all evening. Christina takes off, and Elizabeth is carried out on a stretcher. Lucky realizes she is a victim as well and comes to her aid. A cop stops him and urges him to remain aside and allow the paramedics to perform their job. Molly runs into Cody at Charlie's and questions if he should be here after being arrested the last time he was there. Cody claims Mac asked to meet him here, and he believes it's a test to see if he can act like a person in public. He also needs to apologize to Lucky for striking him the last time. Molly knows Cody intervened and spoke with her father, and her parents had agreed to a ceasefire. She refers to him as a miracle worker and suggests that he may be a good guy. She hands him her card and advises him to use it as a get-out-of-jail card for the next time he gets into trouble. Mac arrives and notices Cody is in a pub and not fighting, so he is pleased of him. Mac and Cody take a table, and Cody describes how he met Molly, and how they became friends when her parents fought. Molly is relieved when Christina finally emerges behind the bar. Christina says she's been busy with inventory, but she's available for a little chat. Mac approaches Molly and offers her to join him and Cody, so she and Christina join them. Christina, on the other hand, is preoccupied with the accident and has no time for small talk. They are interrupted when Jij phones Molly to say her father has been in a vehicle accident. Molly replies she will be right there, and Cody offers to drive her. Christina says she'll come along and they leave. Rick's in serious condition. Rick and Elizabeth are brought in. Isaiah looks after Liz while Lucas takes care of Rick. Lucas adds that Rick needs immediate surgery and a large blood transfusion. Molly, Christina, and Cody arrive, and Lucky informs Molly that Elizabeth and Rick were both involved in the accident and are being treated. Alexis disapproves of Drew's idea. Alexis enters into Drew's office as he is still chatting to Kai. Drew steps out to accept a call from Ezra, who reports a problem at the crypt. Drew advises him to simply do it. Drew returns and introduces Alexis to Kai, and she wonders whether his sports program is why he invited her here. Drew says it is not. Kai leaves and Alexis suspects it's about Scout. Drew tells that Willow, Wiley, and Amelia are moving in, which will be fantastic for Scout. Alexis believes it's an error. She claims Scout is still mourning her mother and has been separated from her brothers. He needs to ensure that there is no further change in her life, while she requires stability and time to heal. Drew claims this is happening and he did not ask for her permission. Alexis hopes everything goes as easily as he expects. He advises to have trust because it will be fantastic. Christina calls Alexis about the accident, and she says she will go to the hospital. Alexis returns to the hospital, and Molly complains that no one is telling her anything. Furthermore, returning here under these conditions triggers unpleasant recollections. Ava enters and asks Alexis and Molly whether they have heard anything about Rick. Alexis tugs Ava away and tells her she's simply making matters worse for her girls, so worry about Rick elsewhere. Isaiah takes Lucky aside and informs him that Liz is stable, but has a broken leg that will require surgery. They need her to regain consciousness before doing surgery. Lucas talks to Molly and the others about Rick and proposes they sit down. Lucas says that her father suffered significant head trauma in the accident, and they are taking him to surgery, and will do everything they can to help him. Lucky sits with Liz and encourages her to wake up. Liz's eyes open and Lucky smiles at her. Tracy stands her ground. Anna arrests Emma and leads her away from the Quartermain crypt. The sheriff attempts to arrest Tracy, but she tells him not to touch her. Yuri stands beside Tracy, and Trina continues to videotape what is going on. Tracy informs Trina via webcam that this crypt is the final resting place of her mother, father, brother, and other family members. She goes on to mention that her family has contributed to the continued operation of General Hospital in Port Charles for the past 50 years. Bulldozing this crypt is nothing more than Congressman Cutthroat Kane's personal vendetta against her, supported by Councilman Boyle. Trina posts the speech, but Ezra says their time is over, and no one is coming to help a wealthy old lady save her property. The sheriffs apprehend Yuri and attempt to bring Tracy away. Diane arrives with a cease and desist order, demanding Tracy be unarmed. Ezra questions where this authority comes from, and Diane responds, "From Dr. Monica Quartermain." Ezra examines it and declares it legitimate, then inquires as to how Monica accomplished this. Diane recounts that Monica reached an agreement with the Port Charles Land Trust, and the Quartermains contributed additional land to the trust in order to preserve the crypt. Gio and Emma's strategy succeeded. Tracy orders Ezra to leave her property. Diane informs Tracy that Monica asked her to advise her to come to her first the next time there's trouble. Diane departs and Gio inquires as to what they plan to do about Emma. Tracy swears she'll get her released, so Gio agrees to accompany her to the station. Tracy appreciates Trina for her assistance in protecting her family. Later, Kai arrives to meet Trina and remarks that her webcast was somewhat edgy. Ezra stops by Drew's office, and the congressman hopes the crypt is gone. Ezra claims it's not, and a settlement has been reached with the Port Charles Land Trust. Not only that, but he is now legally forced to resume using the Kane name. Drew wonders how Tracy managed to pull this off. Ezra tells him she didn't, Monica did. Anna feels disappointed in Emma. Anna brings Emma to the station, and in her office, she is unsure whether she recognizes her granddaughter anymore. Emma claims to be an adult, a college student, and on her way to discovering her true identity. She despises inequity and unfairness and aspires to do good in the world, including fighting for causes she believes in. Anna thinks that's okay, but the Quartermain crypt isn't her struggle. Anna informs Emma that she is young and believes she can save everyone. But this is not the truth, especially if it means jeopardizing her own future. Emma screams that she is trivializing her role tonight, and she was at the crypt for her mother. Anna does not understand. Emma claims her mother regularly tells her about how she was poisoned as a baby, just like Edward Quartermain was. He chose to save her by giving her the final dose of the serum to cure her. She would have died if not for Edward. Anna understands now. Emma claims it isn't just Edward. Alan informed Mom she was HIV+, and he stood by her mother's side when she didn't have anybody to rely on. Anna admits that not being there for Robin is one of her biggest regrets. Emma claims Edward and Alan saved her and her mother's life, therefore she couldn't bear to see their final resting places destroyed. Anna claims that despite her great goal, they still had to deal with her arrest. Anna expects she'll get a smack on the wrist. Mac arrives and has to speak with Anna. They head outside and Anna explains why Emma was protesting today. She may be trouble, but she is the good kind of trouble. Mac is unsure whether she would agree when she reads this and hands her a folder. Anna returns to see Emma and is not pleased. Tracy appears with Gio and informs Emma that they have won, and that she would pay for all of Emma's legal bills. Anna informs Emma that she will have to spend the night in jail and appear before the judge in the morning. Emma seems to have a number of priors. Emma stares at Gio, who is visibly surprised. Jason and Sunny do not get answers. In Toronto, Jason and Sunny are about to shoot the hitman, who refuses to answer their questions, but he abruptly instructs them to wait. He instructs them to open his desk drawer, which has all of his contact information with the person who hired him. When Sunny turns to unlock the drawer, the man attempts to flee. Jason defeats him and he dies. Sunny instructs Jason to gather laptops, cell phones, and anything else that could help them. Sunny and Jason fly home. Sunny claims Silensky was going to die either way, and his death serves as a warning to whoever hired him. Jason is concerned that they may attempt again, and Sunny agrees that he is still under serious threat. He claims Brick will discover something in Silinski's equipment, and until then, they cannot reveal any flaws. Jason argues that delaying his operation is a poor idea. Sunny says he will give Brick some time before scheduling his surgery, and he will not allow anyone to injure his family. In the ever-evolving landscape of General Hospital, few relationships are as complex and deeply rooted as the one between Jason Morgan and Sunny Corinthos. Their bond, forged through years of loyalty, betrayal, and mutual reliance, has been a cornerstone of the show's storytelling. Yet, despite their influence and power in Port Charles, there are moments when even they are left in the dark, grasping for answers that remain frustratingly out of reach. The phrase "Jason and Sunny don't get answers" speaks to those pivotal moments when these two formidable men, who are accustomed to controlling their world, find themselves at the mercy of unseen forces, unresolved mysteries, or the machinations of their enemies. Jason, the quintessential enforcer with a moral code, and Sunny, the charismatic mob boss with a vulnerable heart, are used to dictating the terms of their lives. Whether it's handling business, protecting their families, or navigating personal turmoil, they operate under the assumption that they can uncover the truth if they dig deep enough. However, General Hospital excels at subverting expectations, and there have been numerous instances where Jason and Sunny are left without the clarity they seek. These unresolved threads create tension, drive narratives forward, and remind viewers that even the most powerful figures in Port Charles are not invincible. One of the most compelling aspects of this dynamic is how it tests their partnership. Jason's unwavering loyalty to Sunny has been a defining trait, but what happens when neither of them can find the answers they need? Whether it's a missing person, a hidden enemy, or a betrayal from within their own ranks, the lack of resolution forces them to question their instincts. For Sunny, whose paranoia and bipolar disorder often amplify his reactions, not knowing can be especially torturous. Jason, who operates on logic and precision, finds it equally unsettling when the pieces of the puzzle refuse to fit. A prime example of this frustration was during the saga surrounding Drew Kane's disappearance and the mystery of Jason's own identity. For years, Jason believed himself to be Jason Morgan, only to discover he was actually Drew's twin, whose memories had been altered. The lack of answers about his past, his true identity, and the forces working against him left both Jason and Sunny scrambling. Even with all their resources, they were powerless against the secrets buried by Dr. Cabot and the WSB. This storyline was a masterclass in suspense, as the audience watched two characters who are usually in control struggle with the unknown. Similarly, Sunny has faced his own share of unanswered questions. His presumed death after falling off a bridge and subsequent amnesia in Nixon Falls left Jason and the rest of Port Charles in the dark. For months, Jason searched for answers, refusing to believe Sunny was gone, but unable to uncover the truth. Meanwhile, Sunny himself lived without knowing his own identity, adding another layer of dramatic irony. When the truth finally emerged, it wasn't because Jason or Sunny had pieced it together. It was because outside forces intervened. This reinforced the idea that, no matter how skilled or determined they are, some answers remain beyond their grasp until the right moment. The theme of unanswered questions also extends to their personal lives. Jason's relationships, particularly with Elizabeth Weber and Sam McCall, have been plagued by secrets and half-truths. There were times when Jason couldn't uncover the full story behind a threat to his family, leaving him vulnerable. Sunny, too, has suffered from not knowing the truth, whether it was Carly keeping secrets to protect him or his children hiding their struggles from him. These personal mysteries often cut deeper than any professional setback, because they strike at the heart of what Sunny and Jason value most: family. What makes these moments so compelling is how they humanize Jason and Sunny. Despite their larger-than-life personas, they are not immune to doubt, fear, or frustration. When they don't get answers, they react in ways that reveal their core characteristics. Jason becomes more withdrawn, channeling his energy into relentless pursuit of the truth. Sunny, on the other hand, often lashes out, his temper flaring as he grapples with the lack of control. These reactions make them more relatable, reminding viewers that beneath the power suits and underworld dealings, they are flawed, emotional men. The writers of General Hospital have used this trope effectively to maintain suspense. By denying Jason and Sunny the answers they seek, the show creates a sense of unease that keeps audiences invested. Will they ever uncover the truth? What will happen if they don't? These questions drive engagement and ensure that when the answers finally do come, the payoff is even more satisfying. Drew sat in the dimly lit office, his fingers drumming nervously against the armrest of the chair. The air was thick with tension, the kind that made it hard to breathe. He had been called in unexpectedly, and the look on his boss's face when he entered told him this wasn't going to be a routine meeting. His stomach churned as he waited, his mind racing through every possible scenario. Had he missed a deadline? Made a mistake on the latest project? Or was it something worse? The door creaked open and Mr. Henderson stepped in, his expression unreadable. He didn't sit down, which Drew knew was never a good sign. Instead, he stood behind his desk, his hands clasped in front of him like he was bracing himself for what came next. "Drew," he began, his voice steady but heavy, "I'm afraid I have some difficult news." Drew's throat tightened. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay composed. "What is it, sir?" Mr. Henderson hesitated, then let out a slow breath. "The company is restructuring. Several positions are being eliminated, and unfortunately, yours is one of them." The words hit Drew like a punch to the gut. He blinked, trying to process what he just heard. I'm being let go?" "It's not performance-related," Mr. Henderson added quickly, though the reassurance did little to soften the blow. "The board made the decision based on budget cuts. Your severance package will include—" Drew barely heard the rest. His mind was spinning, his chest tight with a mix of shock and dread. He had worked here for 5 years, given his best, and now just like that it was over. The walk back to his desk felt surreal. His co-workers glanced at him, some with sympathy, others quickly looking away. They must have already known. He packed his things in a daze, his hands moving mechanically. A framed photo of his family, his favorite coffee mug, a few notebooks. It all seemed so small now, so insignificant compared to the uncertainty looming ahead. As he stepped out of the building for the last time, the weight of the situation crashed down on him. How would he pay the mortgage? What would he tell his wife? The job market was tough, and at his age, starting over wouldn't be easy. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from his wife. How did the meeting go? Drew stared at the screen, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. How could he break the news? He took a deep breath and typed, "We need to talk. I'll explain when I get home." The drive home was a blur. Every stoplight felt like an eternity. Every passing car a reminder of the world moving on while his had just been upended. He gripped the steering wheel tighter, fighting the wave of frustration and fear threatening to overwhelm him. When he pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same as always, warm, inviting, a place of comfort. But tonight it felt different. He sat in the car for a long moment, gathering his thoughts before finally stepping out. His wife, Sarah, met him at the door, her smile fading as soon as she saw his face. "Drew? What's wrong?" He opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he pulled her into a tight hug, holding on like she was the only thing keeping him grounded. "I lost my job," he whispered. Sarah stiffened for a second before squeezing him back. "Oh, Drew." They stood there in silence, the reality of the situation settling between them. After a moment, she pulled away, cupping his face in her hands. "We'll figure this out. Together." Her confidence gave him a flicker of hope, but the fear was still there, gnawing at him. What if they couldn't figure it out? What if this was the beginning of everything falling apart? That night sleep wouldn't come. Drew lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with questions and worst-case scenarios. Sarah's steady breathing beside him was a small comfort, but the weight of the future pressed down on him like a physical force. The next morning, he forced himself out of bed, determined to take action. He updated his resume, reached out to old contacts, and started scouring job listings. But with each rejection or unanswered application, the frustration grew. Days turned into weeks, and the severance pay was running out. Bills piled up, and the once optimistic talks with Sarah became tense, strained. They cut back on everything, eating out, subscriptions, even groceries, but it wasn't enough. One evening, after another round of fruitless job hunting, Drew sat at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. Sarah placed a cup of coffee in front of him and sat down. "Maybe we need to think outside the box," she said softly. Drew looked up. "What do you mean? What if you try something different?" Freelancing, consulting, you've got so much experience. Or maybe even going back to school for a new field. The idea was daunting, but the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. He had spent years in the same industry, but that didn't mean he was trapped there. Over the next few months, Drew threw himself into building a new path. He took online courses, networked relentlessly, and even started a small side business helping startups with marketing strategies. It wasn't easy, and there were plenty of setbacks, but slowly, things began to turn around. 1 year later, Drew sat in his home office, now a fully functioning freelance hub, and smiled as he reviewed his latest project. It wasn't the career he had envisioned, but in many ways it was better. He had control, flexibility, and a renewed sense of purpose. Anna had always believed in Emma. From the time they were children, she had admired her best friend's unwavering confidence, her ability to command a room with nothing but a smile, and the way she seemed to glide through life without ever stumbling. Emma had a natural charm that drew people to her, and Anna had always been proud to stand beside her, even if she sometimes felt overshadowed. They had been inseparable, two halves of a whole, promising each other that nothing could ever come between them. But now, as Anna sat across from Emma in the dimly lit coffee shop, she felt something she had never experienced before: disappointment. It was an unfamiliar weight in her chest, a quiet but relentless ache that she couldn't shake. Emma was talking, her voice as animated as ever, but Anna could barely focus on her words. All she could think about was the moment she had realized that Emma had betrayed her trust. It hadn't been a dramatic revelation, no grand confrontation or shocking discovery. Instead, it had been a quiet realization, creeping up on her slowly, like a tide washing away the foundation of something she had once thought indestructible. It was in the small things, the way Emma had avoided her calls for days, the vague responses when Anna asked direct questions, the way she had laughed off concerns as if they were insignificant. And then, finally, the truth had come out. Emma had known. She had known for weeks about something that mattered deeply to Anna, something that had the potential to change everything, and she had chosen to say nothing. Anna had spent days trying to justify it, telling herself that maybe Emma had a good reason, that there had to be some explanation that would make sense. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that there was no excuse. Emma had chosen to put herself first, to protect her own interests at the expense of Anna's trust. And now, sitting across from her, watching her speak so effortlessly as if nothing had happened, Anna felt something shift inside her. Carly goes to Brennan and asks him to find Lucky. He claims he has already given Laura his whereabouts, but Carly wants his present location. Carly explains her case to Brennan, and he makes a phone call. Jason wants to finish his chat with Anna, who praises him for not mentioning Valentine. He claims he treats Sunny with the same loyalty. Anna understands how difficult it is for Jason to be on both sides of the law, but she hopes he chooses her side. Jason says he would not abandon Sunny, but he does not understand why they cannot continue to aid each other. Jason claims he considers her a friend, but she says she no longer views him that way. Isaiah tells Liz about Lucky and what they've been doing abroad. He admits he's concerned Lucky will not survive. The revelation of the mystery donor sent shockwaves through the community, leaving everyone in awe of the unexpected turn of events. For weeks, speculation had been rampant, with names being tossed around in hushed whispers and fervent debates. Who could it be? What motivated them to make such a generous contribution? The anticipation had reached a fever pitch, and when the truth finally came to light, it was nothing short of astonishing. Lucy, a relatively unassuming figure in the grand scheme of things, stepped forward as the benefactor, and with just 4 simple words, she managed to leave Sidwell utterly speechless. Those 4 words, so carefully chosen and delivered with quiet confidence, carried a weight that no one could have anticipated. They weren't just a statement, they were a revelation, a key that unlocked a deeper understanding of Lucy's character and the hidden layers of her intentions. The impact of her disclosure was immediate and profound. Sidwell, known for his composure and unflappable demeanor, found himself at a loss for words, a rare occurrence for a man who prided himself on his eloquence. The room fell into a stunned silence as the magnitude of Lucy's gesture sank in. It wasn't just the financial contribution that left everyone reeling. It was the symbolism behind it, the unspoken message woven into her act of generosity. Lucy had not merely written a check. She had made a statement, one that resonated deeply with everyone present. The backstory of how Lucy came to be in a position to make such a donation was equally compelling. Her journey had been anything but conventional, marked by perseverance, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the power of giving back. She had never sought the spotlight, preferring instead to work quietly behind the scenes, her efforts often going unnoticed by the wider world. But those who knew her well understood that her humility belied a fierce determination and a heart of extraordinary generosity. Her decision to step forward as the mystery donor was not driven by a desire for recognition, but by a genuine commitment to making a difference. The 4 words she spoke to Sidwell were a reflection of this philosophy. They encapsulated everything she stood for: her values, her vision, and her unwavering belief in the potential for positive change. To Sidwell, those words were a revelation, a moment of clarity that cut through the noise and left him seeing Lucy in an entirely new light. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the depth of her character and the sincerity of her intentions. In that moment, he understood that her donation was not just a financial transaction, but a profound act of faith in the cause they both held dear. The ripple effects of Lucy's revelation were felt far beyond that initial moment. It sparked conversations, inspired others to reflect on their own contributions, and reignited a sense of purpose within the community. People began to see philanthropy not just as the domain of the wealthy and powerful, but as something accessible to anyone with the will to make a difference. Lucy's story became a testament to the idea that generosity comes in many forms, and that even the smallest acts of kindness can have an outsized impact. For Sidwell, the encounter was transformative. It challenged his assumptions and forced him to reconsider his own approach to leadership and giving. He had always prided himself on his strategic mind and his ability to navigate complex situations, but Lucy's simple yet profound gesture reminded him of the power of authenticity and heart. It was a humbling experience, one that left him with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper appreciation for the people around him. In the days and weeks that followed, the story of the mystery donor spread, becoming a source of inspiration for many. Lucy's name was on everyone's lips, not because she sought attention, but because her actions spoke louder than any words could. She became a symbol of what it meant to give selflessly, to act with integrity, and to believe in the possibility of change. Her 4 words to Sidwell became a mantra of sorts, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful messages are the simplest ones. The broader implications of Lucy's revelation were impossible to ignore. It prompted organizations to rethink their outreach strategies, to focus more on the human element of philanthropy, rather than just the financial bottom line. Donors and volunteers alike were inspired to look beyond the transactional aspects of giving, and to consider the deeper meaning behind their contributions. Lucy's story showed that true generosity is not measured in dollars and cents, but in the sincerity of one's intentions and the impact of one's actions. As for Lucy herself, she remained as unassuming as ever. The attention was unexpected and at times overwhelming, but she handled it with the same grace and humility that had defined her all along. She never lost sight of why she had made the donation in the first place, and she continued to work quietly behind the scenes, supporting causes she believed in without fanfare or expectation of recognition. To her, the act of giving was its own reward, and the joy of seeing others benefit was more than enough. Sidwell, meanwhile, carried the lesson of that encounter with him. He found himself more attuned to the quiet contributors, the ones who didn't seek the limelight but whose efforts were no less valuable. He became a more empathetic leader, one who understood that leadership was not just about making decisions, but about listening, learning, and recognizing the contributions of others. Lucy's 4 words had left an indelible mark on him, shaping his approach in ways he could never have anticipated. In the end, the mystery donor's identity was just the beginning of the story. The real narrative was about the power of unexpected kindness, the impact of authenticity, and the ripple effects of a single act of generosity. Lucy's 4 words to Sidwell were a catalyst for change, a moment that transcended the immediate context and took on a life of its own. They were a reminder that sometimes the most profound truths are expressed not in grand speeches or elaborate gestures, but in simple, heartfelt words that come from a place of genuine conviction. The community, once abuzz with speculation about the mystery donor, now found itself united by a shared sense of inspiration. Lucy's story became a touchstone, a reference point for what it meant to give without expectation, to act with integrity, and to believe in the power of collective effort. It was a narrative that resonated because it was real, because it spoke to something fundamental about human nature, the capacity for kindness, the desire to make a difference,